um, for this Mindset Monday. I don't know who all had the chance to listen to the podcast, but I heard that back in the spring, I think, and absolutely loved it because I don't know about y'all, but I can only speak for myself. I am the first person to make excuses for myself because y'all, I mean, let's just face it. Life is not, it's not just like this for me. It's like this for everybody. Life is crazy. It's often a soft place that I fall back into because like we have a really untraditional lifestyle. My family does. So it's really easy to put that ahead of, everything else, the priorities that I've made for myself. And I think, most people on here are mamas, and wives. And it's really, really easy to put everything and everyone else above our own priorities, to make everybody else the priority over like what we want to do either for ourselves when it comes to like exercise or for our business. I'm sorry, I'll have a 2-year-old at the door screaming. Speaking of which, so it's really easy to like put everybody else above like what we want to make our priorities. And so that's, we want to talk about that today, just kind of break it down. These calls are really meant for us to just kind of keep momentum during this time of year that can be traditionally kind of slow and can be a really easy time for us to fall into those excuses. Whether it's, like I said, whether it's about a diet, if we're doing the 14-day challenge, or if it's about even just sending messages in our simple IPA. It all starts in our mindset, y'all. I was getting a new person started 2 nights ago. I was talking to her about the basics of the business. And I said, listen, what takes people down in this business is the mindset. And we're all susceptible to it. I don't care if you are silver, not yet silver, or you are a jewel. We are all susceptible to the mindset game. It's really easy to fall into a feeling like we're not enough. We're too overwhelmed with life. We have all of these things going on with life that can be put ahead of our business, of ourselves, of our own self-care. And that is what I loved about this podcast, was saying, hey, you know what? She speaks. Here's the thing about Rachel Hollis. She speaks in the language that I speak in, and that is very blunt and to the point. So I think probably tonight, I'm going to put this disclaimer out here for you. Be ready for us to speak in that kind of language, because Abby's a little better than me, but I speak like that. I speak in very, hey, let's get to the point. Let's get to the problem, the heart of the problem, and let's get our mindset straight. Because right now, y'all, especially for November and December and going into January, it is so important. I told some of my team members last night on an accountability call, I said, listen, this is a very important time. It's really easy to slip into that point of everything else is so important. I'm going to put my business on the back burner because everybody else needs me right now. But what you do right now is going to determine how your January goes, how your February goes, how your March goes. Y'all, this is a time that is really important. While it could be potentially slow for you, it does not matter. What you do with this time is what matters right now. So let's dive in. And before we get started, I want to hear, Abby and I are leading this call together. Abby, like, what stood out to you about this particular podcast?
Am I unmuted?
Yes.
I like it. I mean, I love this. I feel like you're right. I feel like it's something that we all struggle with, no matter if you started yesterday or if you've been doing this for 3 years, no matter your level of success with the business, we all can fall into the trap of you just check out for a while and you're like, I'm going to get back in the groove tomorrow. And we just put it off and put it off and put it off. And so I'm interested to hear from you guys, because I feel like I was thinking about the call and what people would say. And I really feel like we've all been on both sides of this. We've all been on the side of, that you're putting things off and you're just kind of shoving things to the side and saying, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll start back next week, and making excuses. But we've all probably also been on the side of, you know what? I'm not going to do this tomorrow. I'm going to commit that I'm going to do ABC today. And we get in those accountability groups or, whatever it is. So I'd love to hear from you guys on what you think it is that derails you into the procrastination that we all get into, and then what you feel like helps you get back just in your habits. And I wanted to share this. I was reading a couple articles just about this concept of I'll start tomorrow. And one article was talking about people learning a new language. And the advice that they gave was it would be better for you to spend 5 minutes a day learning the new language than to take a 5-hour class once a month. And I would submit that the exact same thing is true about pretty much everything. As it applies to our business, I really do. I mean, I believe that. I think you'll have more success if you work your business for 5 minutes every single day than if one day a month you work for 5 hours straight or the entire day and you just blow it out and message everybody and then you just bail for a month. So, and it just seems like that. I don't know. I just see a lot of people falling into this trap. So I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. And if anybody feels like they've been enlightened or they've conquered this battle.
Yeah, and y'all, I've muted everybody just for the sake of the background noise, but if we want to hear from y'all, so unmute yourselves if you have something to say. This is an interactive time and we really want to hear from you, because here's the deal. Like I said, it doesn't matter what rank you're at. Like, we all fall victim to the mindset battle. I don't know if anybody listens to or reads Joyce Meyer, but she has a book called The Battlefield of the Mind, and it's one that it really did change my faith walk many years ago when I read it. But it's a battle that we all fight day by day. And especially, I was talking to Lindsay a couple of nights ago, and she said Plexus Land is a really funny land because it plays games with your mind like nothing else does. And so just know that, like, we want to hear from y'all because we can all benefit from just this conversation for sure. Until anybody talks, I want to tell y'all some of the things that stood out to me. And Abby, like, you and I can, because Abby and I have worked really closely together from pretty much day one, and we can talk. We've been a lot of times step in step when it comes to different things that have affected us. And I do want, Abby, for you and I to share kind of like what we've done to get out of those mindset ruts. But one thing that I remember from the podcast, and I don't know if y'all knew this, but that podcast was from one of the chapters in Girl Wash Your Face. And I went to it today, and one of the things that really stood out, and I underlined it the first time I read this, and she said when she went out for drinks and turned into a late night dinner with her girlfriend, and she went home and got on the treadmill, and the girlfriend saw a picture. I guess she posted it on some social media outlet, and the girlfriend was like, "What are you doing? Like, you got home really late at night. You got on the treadmill. What are you doing?" And she was like, "I made a promise to myself that I'm not going to break." Like, she said, the promise that I make to myself is more important than anything, because that dictates how I'm going to treat other people too. She said, if you really cared about a commitment, you would do it when you said you would. What if you had a friend who constantly flaked on you? What if every other time you made plans, you decided not to show up? Y'all, this was significant to me. And I wrote this in the margins of the book when I read it months ago. And I said, you are your own friend. You need to be a friend to yourself before you can really be a good friend to other people. How are you treating yourself? How are you keeping promises to yourself? Are you putting everyone else before yourself into the promise that you made for your business? Are you putting everyone else before yourself in the promise that you made for yourself in your health? Think about that. How are you treating yourself? Because here's the deal, guys, and this is when I told you I was going to talk to you straight. Most of us, like I said, are on here are mamas. We have little eyes watching us. I don't care how old they are. They are watching us, and we are the model for them, and for how they are potentially going to dictate like how the success they reach for is going to be, because we modeled it for them. Are we making excuses for ourselves and putting everybody above our own priorities? Are we being a friend to ourselves? Are we saying, hey, I'm going to set a goal to be, I don't know, is it go silver this month? Is it go gold? Like, what is it that's your priority and that your goal is? Are you then shoving it to the side for everyone else? What are you teaching those people that are watching you? Are you being a friend to yourself? That was really significant to me. She said, if you constantly make and break promises to yourself, you're not making promises at all. You're talking. You're waxing poetic like Pam. It was an example she used in her diet, or your flaky friend who bails on you to watch Game of Thrones. Are you talking? are you actually making priorities for yourself? When you really want something, you'll find a way. When you don't want something, you'll find an excuse. How does your subconscious know the difference between what you want and what you only pretend to want? There have been times, and like I said, Abby and I have worked really closely together on this whole 2.5-year journey with Plexus. Abby, like, tell us like some of the ways, and I want to go too as well, but like you tell me like some of the ways like that you have been able to get out of ruts that you have found yourself in, because we've both found ourselves in those ruts almost sometimes at the same time.
Well, I will answer that. Terry typed a comment in the chat box, and Terry, if you want to expound on that a little bit, I'd love for you to unmute yourself and jump in and just share some wisdom with us. But I'll answer your question, Kelly. I'll tell you what, one of the biggest things that I do is just acknowledge it. And I'll text Lindsay Bryant and be like, I suck. Like, I'm not doing what I need to be doing. Like, and I'll just kind of like, let's just talk about the elephant in the room. Like, I'm not showing up to my business every day. And she's great to just be like, okay, well, let's talk about what you can do today, and just having that accountability and encouragement in the relationships. And it doesn't have to be your upline. It can be a sideline. It can just be your running partner, whatever it is. But for me, just acknowledging it and then kind of admitting it to another person, that, and then that kind of provides the accountability. So Terry, and don't feel bad. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I feel like Terry might have some words of wisdom for us.
Yeah, Terry, you've heard consistent. What your thoughts are.
For me, I have no problem posting. Like, posting's fairly easy. I know like when to do it, how to do it. I feel like I don't pepper enough of Plexus in, but sometimes I do. The best thing about listening to Girl Wash Your Face was when she said, girl, you are in sales, which we talked about last week. So like I've embraced that. The hardest part for me is the IPA. And I mean, really it is. And that is like doing a personal message to somebody, work in my warm market or whatever the case may be. And I guess for me, I have always been either in an office or a store situation where I've got an agenda, but now I'm working from home. Mm-hmm. And that is my Achilles heel. I'm like, oh crap. Well, I've got these home duties I kind of need to get done. And it seems like Plexus is on the back burner a little. Like, I get the post done, but the IPA, that is my biggest Achilles heel. And I feel like when I'm pushed, I do it, but on a consistency basis, I don't. And that was one of my big takeaways when we were listening to this. I sat with two other Plexus people today when we listened to this. And one of my biggest takeaways was the consistency, because I just felt like, the consistency in messaging, I thought, if I'm not doing that consistently, then what credibility do I have? And then if I'm not doing my outreach as far as like, I can't even remember who the girl was, but she spoke from Dothan a few weeks ago. She was the attorney that's no longer attorney, but she's like now like a diamond or something. Anyway, she was saying like, one thing that hit me when she said was, if you're gonna ask somebody to marry you, you don't just like ask them right off the bat, you date them a little. And that's the part that I think I need to get better with, as far as like really reaching out and messaging my audience. So that's kind of all I have to say about that. And that's really the hardest part for me, is like finding the dedicated time to sit down and do that. And me personally, I feel like it takes me, when they say, oh, you can do an IPA in an hour or 2 hours, I'm just going to tell you, it's more like a 4 or 6 hour thing for me. It's not as quick as I feel like you younger girls are doing it in. I feel like I'm much slower.
Terry, it's not based on age. Honestly, it's not, because here's the thing. I'm the personality. And for those of you that know me, I am go big or go home. Like, I am go all the way or don't do it at all. And that's a problem. And you find that a lot in Plexus. Like there are a lot of you on this call tonight that are overachievers. And that is a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful quality to have, but it's also it can be a detriment, but you have to be able to see that. Because like you think, hey, I have to sit down and work my business for 4 to 6 hours. Like I have to be able to message 85 people or it's not worth it. But what we have to do is retrain our minds. It's almost like going to the gym and working a muscle. Like if you think, okay, and I'm guilty of this. Like if I can't go out and run 5 miles, I'm not going to run 1 mile because I think it's pointless. But we have to work a muscle and it builds up endurance. And it's the same thing with your Plexus business. If you're not doing a little bit at a time, even if you can only do 10 minutes or 5 minutes, it's better than nothing. And we have to retrain the way that we think. I am that way. Like I often will avoid my IPA if I think I can't sit down and message a gajillion people. But what Abby said in the very beginning is like so true. Like if we can put in 5 minutes and it's retraining ourselves to say, hey, 5 minutes is better than nothing. 5 minutes of really quality work.
It's more effective. And I think you believe more in yourself. If you sit down for 5 minutes a day and message 2 people a day,
yeah,
you at least feel like you've accomplished something, and you don't feel that guilt of like, well, I stink, like I haven't done anything, and then it just kind of snowballs. I was going to share, so again, as I was kind of researching this concept of like, I'll start tomorrow, I came across this thing called the Pomodoro technique, and it's a time management method. You can Google it, but it's when you work in short increments, and they suggest a 25-minute increment. And I thought that goes perfectly with our 3, 6, 9, 12 30-minute IPA. And so Terry, like I would suggest to you, grab an accountability partner, get on a Zoom call for 30 minutes a day, or whether you do it, once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, get some accountability where you're just going to sit down for 30 minutes and you're going to work, and then you're going to walk away. And then that way, you prove to yourself that it doesn't take 6 hours, and you can kind of take back control of your life that way. And I just think that's a much more effective way to work than to work, 6 hours straight once a month. If you have 10 minutes, just give it 10 minutes, and just kind of have your little plan. I'm kind of watching the chat box. Okay, Tara, are you going to freak out if I call you out and unmute you? Because, okay,
I can add something, Abby.
Okay, jump in.
So one of the things I know about myself is that I'm terrible when you tell me I can't have something or do something. Like this 14-day challenge is like a nightmare for me. It's 2 shake a day. But what I liked from the talk we listened to was that she said, when you're trying to make a change, think about what you can add into your routine versus take away. So for me, what I'm learning through this 14-day challenge, as I thought through that concept, like I'm learning that I can add in that celery and peanut butter in the middle of my day versus that donut with Noah, between whatever, and figuring out things I can add into my day to take away the junk that I used to eat. I'm finding things to add into my routine. When I feel like my business is funky, I also find that I start to not do the other things I should do, like exercise or make sure my water, like I just kind of like everything kind of implodes. Not altogether. I mean, I kind of have my act together a little bit, but the things that I should do more often. So through this 14-day challenge, I have met my exercise goals more days of the week than I was the week before. I've added in, instead of taking away TV, I added in an extra hour of IPA or, team stuff. I have added in different music in the background, just Christian music in the background instead of like other things in it. So it feels calmer? Like, what am I adding into my routine to make my day go better? And so through the holidays, especially when people are getting busy and in a funk, and there's more no's because people don't want to spend money on themselves, they're spending it on everyone else, everywhere else. And this in our season kind of slows in the business. I think figuring out how to pour into yourself will help get you through the slump per se in the business. And maybe you know, you're not going to have a slump because you're building on yourself and growing and improving. And so that's my hope, is just that I can pour into myself enough to keep pouring into my team and doing all those things while, you know, encouraging new customers in ways like, okay, what's your normal snack? Okay, well, let's add in an apple instead. Let's do our half our body weight in water and things like that. So figuring out how to help people by adding things to their routine rather than saying you can't have sugar because that's not realistic. You can't, you know, do this or you can't do that, because reality is that they can and they're going to. So what do you do to make it a positive thing versus a, you know, you didn't do a good job? Does that make sense?
I love that, Erin. That's so good.
That's great.
That's so good. I mean, because like it's just saying like, hey, I'm going to add 5 minutes. She talked about that. Like, you're not going to get out and say, if you've never run before, you're not going to say, hey, tomorrow I'm going to run 24 miles. No, because like your brain is going to give up at the last place that you ran. Like, if you've only ever run 1.5 miles, your brain's going to start to peter out at 1.5 miles. Like, you have to retrain your brain. And one thing that she said, Abby, I hope I didn't interrupt you. As for Tara, I want to say this because this is really significant from something that she wrote, but it's not also something that she wrote. If you believe in what the Bible says, because Tara, you said that you suck. This is where I'm gonna get on to y'all, and I am the worst offender. So I am not sitting here on a high horse. Lindsay and Rebecca can both tell you I love to talk down about myself. It's like, I mean, guilt and like talking about myself is like something I cuddle up to at night. Like, I find a lot of comfort in it, and it's wrong. Like, we have to retrain not only our brains, but our mouths, because Tara, you do not suck. You are amazing. You are amazing. And the thing is like she said this, and the Bible says this, there's life and death in the power of the tongue. She said our words have power to shape our actions. So this is another way, and y'all, this call could probably go on for 3 hours because it really is so true. Like, we are talking about something that's so significant, it seems very small, but retraining our minds, because out of the imagination and out of our heart, the mouth flows. And what you say sets things into action. You do not suck. You are amazing. Everybody on this call is amazing in their own right. I don't care what rank you're at. I don't care if you're not silver. I don't care if you're double diamond. It does not matter, y'all. You are amazing because you were created by the King of the universe. You were created by him to do something very specific. You have a purpose and a plan for your life that is to prosper and not fail, y'all. That is the word of God coming straight from his mouth. And y'all need to apply it to your lives. And every single day, remind yourself of that, because that's going to change how you not only approach your life and your family, but how you approach your business too. Okay. Sorry. So, Abby, I think I interrupted you.
No. Well, and I'm just going to say, okay, everybody on this call, you have taken time away from your family in your evening. You're not watching Netflix right now. You are investing in yourself. And honestly, like, the heart behind why we wanted to do these Mindset Monday calls was just to pour into everybody, because we know it can't, and I don't even want to speak this, but it's like people get super distracted in November, December. It's Thanksgiving, it's Christmas. And so we just thought, you know what, rather than beat ourselves up because maybe our PV is lower, let's just pour into our team. Let's just love on them. Let's, exactly what Kelly's saying. Let's remind ourselves that we need to speak life over ourselves and over our teams. And that is kind of the heart behind why we want to do this. Not because we want to beat more IPA into everybody, but we just need to encourage one another. And Tara, if you want to say anything, just unmute yourself. But I was going to tell you, I'm the same way. Like, I get overwhelmed and shut down. And you can ask Kelly, you can ask Jill, you can ask Rebecca, Lindsay. And I texted them earlier this week when some of these threads started taking off, we started the IPA, we started the 14-day challenge, and those messages start rolling in, and I just start going, like, I just feel like I'm suffocating because I open my messenger and it's just blown up. And I immediately think, I can't respond to all these messages. I can't even read them. And so I immediately like texted Lindsay and all them, and I'm like, I'm overwhelmed. Okay. So, but I know that they're not going to go down in a hole with me. So I have a safe group of people that I'm acknowledging, like, this is how I'm feeling. And then I know they're going to redirect me. And Lindsay immediately was like, hey, you know what? Let's just be excited that people are pumped and they're engaged. And it's awesome that the messenger threads are blowing up. And I was like, you're right. So I would just say, like, find some safe people. When you're shutting down, you need to tell somebody that's not going to put a guilt trip on you, but they're going to, you know, speak something positive into you that's not going to be like, well, suck it up, Abby. Just be happy your team's working. Like, quit complaining. You know, that's what you need. So you've got to have some place where you can be real and vulnerable, that they're going to redirect you and focus on the positive. So, absolutely. Tara, do you have anything?
I'll unmute myself. So I think really for me, I read something last week and it said, if you have more than 3 priorities, then you have no priorities. And I thought, wow, like, what do I really need to focus on? Because I've got 4 kids, a husband, and 2 jobs, and Plexus, and I love Plexus. I think about it all the time. So I just need to, I don't know, figure out what those top 3 priorities are for me.
Tara, if I might, like, this is when, and Lindsay is really good about pulling us back and saying, like, this is like, go back to the basics, because I mean, I think I can speak for all of us, me, Jill, Abby, Rebecca, and say, like, it's really easy to get caught up in this stuff because there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of minutia going on with Plexus, like whether it's like all of the threads that you're on, it's really, whether you're trying to build a team and you're trying to post on your team page and like focus on your team, it's the time to go back. And I hope I'm answering this, you know, Abby, anybody else, I'd love for y'all to jump in too, but like going back to the basics, and you need to approach your day like you are a brand new person who just entered Plexus and you are trying to build a business from the ground up. Because we all have to do that, like, every single day. And it's focusing on your personal business. Like, it is focusing on sending out those messages first, like making those contacts first, like developing relationships, keeping like all of the chit chat and like what I call noise pollution outside of what's really important, and just focusing on building your business, like making those contacts, building the relationships, and then also pouring into yourself, like exactly what you're doing right here. Because it goes back to what I said in the very beginning of this call, and how the mindset game is what takes so many people down in this business. Like, people that have the promise of being a double, triple diamond, I don't care like what it is. They could pass, like, you know, the ranks that have never been met in this company. But it's the mindset game, and you have to keep that in check. It is like pouring into yourself and making yourself the priority. Have you promised yourself that you're going to go out and spend 20 minutes walking around the neighborhood to give yourself that the self-love and the self-care? Have you kept your promise to yourself? Have you been a friend to yourself and to your own business and said, I'm going to message not 55 people today, but I only have time to message 3 people? Have you done it? Like, keeping those things very simple, very basic. And like, that is what Lindsay is so good at. I mean, so Lindsay, I'd love to hear from you if you have anything to add to that, but she's really good at redirecting us back to the basics, like of what it took for us to all go silver, go gold, like all the ranks that we've met, like go back to the very basics of like those things that were a priority for us to begin with. What are we not doing now to like, that we were doing then to build our business and like to build ourselves personally? Lindsay, I put you
all out. Okay. I honestly, I feel like there's so much in life and Plexus that kind of run parallel with each other. And I just find in life, like when I'm getting overwhelmed with anything, whether it's, we keep talking about exercising or eating healthy or whatever, like for me, I don't have an all or nothing mindset. And I'm blessed with that, and I know that, and that is a gift that the Lord has placed on me, because I don't have that all or nothing mindset. And so it's very easy for me to be like, okay, well, today I'm just going to, walk 20 minutes, and then tomorrow 30, and the next day 40 or whatever. And so I do try to really apply that in Plexus Land, because there is so much stuff. Like Kelly just said, a lot of it's all helpful, and it's all tools, and it's all things that we need. But it's really hard sometimes to prioritize what's most important on a daily basis and do your real life. And that's the hardest thing with Plexus, doing your real life and making progress with your business, continual daily progress. And so I think the biggest thing we get caught up in is hearing 531, we have to message 5 people, or we have to message 30 people, or whatever. It's just repetitive to what you guys are saying. If I can message one person, I give myself a pat on the back. And then usually the next day I'll message 2, or if I message 1 in the morning, I feel so darn good about myself that I'm going to message somebody that night. And so that's really how I try to work through the business, or, life in general. So just taking it off into baby steps, and ask yourself where those absolutes are coming from, those weights that you're putting on yourself that's holding you back. It's like, why am I not, like y'all said, why am I not doing something? Is it because, oh gosh, it sounds awful to go sit at my phone and try to find 10 people to message? Well, don't message 10 people. Go to your phone and follow up with 2 people, which I love following up. So that's fun. So I start with the fun stuff. I've learned that in Plexus too. Start with the fun stuff. Follow up with some people, because loving on people is way more fun than reaching out to somebody, cold messaging. So start with the fun stuff. Follow up with 2 people and love on 2 people, and then send a cold message. So I've sent 3 messages. I'm going to say, yay me, and then maybe go hang out with my kids for a while. And then when they nap, I'm going to maybe come back to it. So I think that's just kind of something I try to do, and hopefully pass on to y'all sometimes, because every one of us gets overwhelmed. So that's what we all have to know. We all get overwhelmed in Plexus Land. So much to do, but we need to learn how to prioritize, and just do that top thing. And then if we can do more, awesome. If not, you'll get to the next one the next day.
Yeah, absolutely. Rebecca said that she had a light bulb moment, said that if she wouldn't cancel on others, why would you ever cancel on yourself? And it goes in line with like what Lindsay's talking about. And I think the overarching theme here is grace. It's not only, we're really quick to give grace to other people a lot of times, but we don't give grace to ourselves. And it's it's giving ourselves applause and for the little things. Like I think about it, like when I had to like struggle tonight with Micah May, getting her to let me clip her fingernails. For some reason, this is like a new phobia of hers. And every fingernail, I would cheer for her. And y'all, she would get more and more into it. Like after the first fingernail, it was easier to do the second fingernail because I was cheering for her. Let's do that for ourselves. Like going into this week, let's make our goals. Y'all, you don't have to make big goals. Like make little goals along the way that will end up in a big goal. Like celebrate the one message that you send, like Lindsay said, like send the one message, cheer for yourself. If you need to take a break, and then come back to it and send another message. You don't have to send the 555 messages. Like I love to set that goal for myself. That's impossible, guys. Not with the life that we're leading. It's impossible. So I need to retrain my mind, like she talked about with this podcast, like retraining your mind. It's like meeting that mile goal. Like if you're going to say, I'm going to run 2 miles, cheer yourself on at a half mile, cheer yourself on at the next mile. Get yourself excited about the goals, and you're eventually going to get to the messages, like the big goal that you have. But you got to make those little goals along the way. So let's retrain our brains and get excited and cheer for ourselves and give ourselves grace, y'all, like we've never given before. Let's make that the goal for this week. Give ourselves grace and meet those little goals along the way, for sure. Okay. Anybody else before we close? I know we're keeping y'all over on the time. I feel like we could talk all night about this, but Tara said, was anyone else thinking that she needed Plexus to help? Yeah, for sure. Abby can talk about that.
That made me laugh. Jill said something. Jill, I don't know if you're at a place to unmute, and I know we're out of time, but Jill said kind of the other my big takeaway, talking about slowing down your yes. And I don't know, we all have heard the John Maxwell analogy about take an axe, and if you want to chop a tree down, take 5 swings a day. And then there's also another analogy where, and I feel like maybe Pastor Chris did this at Church of the Highlands or something, but it was like you have this big glass jar and your priorities are these big rocks, and you've got to put the big rocks in the jar first. Those are your priorities, taking care of your health, taking care of your family, getting enough sleep, whatever it is that are your main priorities, you've got to put the big rocks in first, because if you put the little nitpicky rocks in, then when you go to put the big rocks in, they're not going to fit, and so your priorities are never going to fit in that jar. And I'm kind of butchering this analogy, but the idea is we say yes to way too much, and we make 50 things a priority, and then at the end of the day we feel like a failure. And if y'all have ever read Jen Hatmaker's book For the Love, she talks about this a lot, just like how ridiculous it is that most American women go to bed at night feeling like a failure. And if you really thought about everything that you had done today, you've done a crazy, ridiculous amount of amazing stuff. So we've got to narrow it down, say no to more things, figure out what are the big rocks that need to go in your jar first, and then what are the little rocks that need to take second place. So I loved that, Jill.
Yeah, that's so good. Hart said she had a question about Thanksgiving and family time.
Unmute yourself.
Okay. So I really struggle around family times because I feel like, in the past, before I was doing this and we were on vacations, my husband does a lot of stuff from his phone and the markets. And so whenever we were at the beach or something and he was constantly checking his phone or on and off, that was kind of a frustration to us. And, it was even a family talk he and I had. So now, fast forward to me doing this, I know that, in other trainings and stuff with Aaron and Abby, we've talked about, have the meeting with your family, tell them what you're working towards and your goals. But at the same time, I really struggle with feeling like most of my family has turned it off when we're together. They've taken all the way off work. They're kind of leaving their phone in the other room, stuff like that. So I really struggle to say, oh, I need to step away for 30 minutes or an hour to work on this. And, I'll try to quickly do stuff, but still I don't get much done around family time because I really struggle with, I don't want it to seem like, oh, I'm doing Plexus now, and now Hart can't have this family time because she's got Plexus. And for them to see Plexus as more of a negative than a positive, because it's pulling me away from family time stuff versus something, oh, she, works it around her own schedule and works from home. And I don't know. So what advice do y'all have as we're heading into holidays?
Hart, you have to be careful because that is, and Lindsay, I know would also tell you that you have to be careful about protecting your family time. Family time does come, your family comes first. I think most of us can say the reason that we're doing this is our why is our family, is to have more time with our family. So it's funny that because of Plexus as being a home-based business from our phones, it actually can take away from our family time. I am, again, I'm the top culprit here because it's so easy, when sitting there with your family, to look down. But you have to protect A, your family, and B, you have to protect your business. And that's on a couple of fronts. You need to protect your business, in your family, thinking that the business is the culprit, is the predator out to get your time with your family. Respecting that family time is very, very important. So this is what I've told my team ahead of the Thanksgiving holidays and Christmas holidays. You get some extra work time in these next couple of days so that you can feel good about that time when you're with your family. You've done the work and you don't have to think about, I should have done this, I should have done that. And you sit there and beat yourself up. Even if you're not on your phone, you're still not connected to your family. You're still not connected to that time that you have with them because you're thinking about your business. Take the extra, if it means getting up 10 minutes early for the next couple of days, do it. It's worth it. Because that means that you're putting in that extra time to get those couple of extra like messages sent out, the customer care taken care of, so that you can walk away from that for the Thanksgiving day and like whatever it is that you've allotted for your family, and you can feel good about it because you're protecting your business, but you're also protecting your family. Like you're protecting that time with them, and you're protecting the way they look at your business too. You don't want this to be an issue of resentment for them. That is a very dangerous place. And I think most of us can say we've been there at some point. You don't want to walk into that territory. So do the extra work ahead of time so that you don't have to deal with it at that point.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I think it just comes back to planning ahead. Like I know I'm going to New York on Thursday. My mother-in-law's flying in on Wednesday. We're going to New York Thursday. We'll be back Sunday. So like looking at our calendar, I went ahead and volunteered to do this call tonight. I'm doing the customer event tomorrow. And then I probably will not respond to a Plexus message from probably Wednesday to Sunday. I will be totally checked out. I will be with my family. So if you know, like you're going to be with your family certain days over Thanksgiving, just go ahead and, you know, get your stuff done and kind of lined up, maybe schedule some posts or whatever. I mean, I'm the queen of running into the bathroom and slapping a post up while I'm in the bathroom, you know,
Yeah.
double duty there. So, and don't feel guilty about that at all. I mean, that's healthy. It really is. It's unhealthy to work your business every minute of every day and be on your phone all the time.
Yeah, and Hart, your team needs to see you taking that time. Like Abby said, like what you do is what your team is going to see you do. Seriously, like if you're working on Thanksgiving Day, your team is going to see that, and it's going to put pressure. I mean, I'm not trying to put pressure on you, but it's going to put pressure on them to go, I should be working. I should be doing what she's doing. No, they need to see you doing the extra work ahead of time and then going, you know what, my family is most important because that's why we're doing this.
Mm-hmm. And I would just say too, Hart, don't think of it, almost going back to the principle that Erin said, you know, it's not an all or nothing thing. Sometimes vacations and holidays, part of this business is just sharing your life with people. And so like you can work your business without even working your business. I mean, Thanksgiving will be a no-brainer for me. I will not be in the trenches messaging people. Absolutely not. But I'll still be taking pictures of my kids and taking pictures of the food and doing stories of me, of Allie probably eating chicken wings. Like that's still, you know, that's still creating relationships and expanding your network and all that kind of good stuff. But it's the easy stuff. To me, it's the fun stuff. So you're still probably going to be doing that even if you're like me, and I'll be taking like 20 stories and then I go back and post them later so I don't have to take time to think of anything. You know, and I can go and do it when we're all sitting on the couch unbuttoning our pants or whatever, just like mindlessly staring at the walls. So I think there's ways that you can be, you know, you can work it without like it being work or ever taking away time from your family. And then during the week, you know, because we're all talking about Thanksgiving, and I think holidays are a no-brainer. You just don't. Like Abby said, one, be prepared because you do know Black Friday's coming the next day. So it is smart when you own your own business to know of a major holiday that next day and have your Black Friday plan now, your Cyber Monday plan now. But also like just during the week, I know for me, when I first started, I was doing too much out of family time, trying to hit some big goals fast. And that's when I told myself no on Sundays, because I had to have a day where my kids saw me 100% without my phone. And so that's a no-brainer for me. I don't work on Sundays unless somebody needs me. I try not to text. I try not to talk on the phone. And really Saturdays too, you know, because no matter what I try, I do, there is going to be times during the week I'm home with a child 24/7. If I want to work my business, there's going to be times where I have to, you know, she's got to go and play or read some books for an hour. An hour a day is not going to kill her while I work my business. But Saturday, the weekend it's family time, 100%. And then I don't let anything creep in. Like that's very guarded for me.
All right, guys, this has been awesome. Abby, anything you wanted to add?
No, just appreciate y'all's participation. I hope this continues to be an encouragement. I always love just hearing from everybody. So thank you for being here and participating.
Before we end, I wanted to tell y'all in 60 seconds, the last three things that Rachel Hollis said to think about when considering like not waiting till tomorrow. She said, start with one small goal. We've said this a lot tonight. Make the goal small, guys, and celebrate it along the way. Like, make it doable, give yourself grace, and cheer for yourself when you're done. She said, be careful with your commitments, which is what Jill said. Protect your yes. This is really important when we are stretched thin, guys, because we all are. Whether, it's a full-time job, being a mama, being a wife, like whatever it is, we're all stretched thin. So protect your yes and make sure it's worth it. Like, is the commitments that you're making, is it worth it? Does it go towards your final purpose? Like, is it focused on your why? Like, what is your why? Reframing that why. And then 3 is being honest with yourself. This goes back to like the mindset part that we've talked about. What is it that makes you feel overwhelmed? What is it that makes you feel defeated? Frame that problem. My father has always said, in order to find a solution, you have to frame the problem first. Frame the problem, be honest with yourself. And then that's when you go, okay, I'm overwhelmed when I set my goals too big. Make them smaller, cheer for yourself, protect your yes, and be honest with yourself when you have succeeded, and give yourself that time to celebrate yourself and just give yourself grace. So y'all are awesome. I hope y'all have an amazing week. I can't wait to see y'all next week, and can't wait to hear how y'all are cheering for yourselves this week. So y'all have a great one, and we'll talk to y'all next Monday. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.